ladies and gentlemen. This is Alfreda Love, and with me I have the honorable candidate, Miss Henry, and I also have JD the Connect. And we are here in order to speak to candidate Henry, who is actually all the way in Philadelphia. And actually, we reached out to her because of her desire to continue to promote and serve her community and just to be an important asset to the youth. You know, when I was able to observe the things that she was doing, basically all of these things were centered around youth and people. And she has a very kind heart. She's compassionate, and we just want to applaud her and we want to respect her because she's doing great things in Philadelphia. So, without further ado, we want to thank candidate Honorable Henry for being on the Love Show. All right, so I will be your host, Alfreda Love, and we have JD the Connect. So, candidate Henry, can you tell us a little bit about your stewardship in Philadelphia?
Yes. So for the past decade, or at least since 2014, I have chosen a career, a lifelong dedication to public service. Every job that I've ever had has been either for the city of Philadelphia or the county of Philadelphia for their court system, handling matters for children, youth, and families. I have been a mediator, helping to get families to navigate family court matters. I have been an assistant city solicitor, where I was litigating matters for children who were abused, neglect, or victims of sex abuse, etc. And in that practice, it wasn't just the legal matters that were of importance, it was the underlying circumstances that brought them to the courtroom to begin with. And we would ensure that the families had services. Even as a mediator, I was trying to navigate around the litigation aspect, not sending them to court. If there were things that we could do for families to restabilize them and to give them tools to move past a tough spot in life, then we would mediate those issues with everybody, friends, family, whoever had an interest in seeing this family thrive. That's what we do so they could avoid having the embarrassment and the shame, and sometimes the disrespect and belittlement of having a hearing. After I was a city solicitor for the vulnerable children in Philadelphia, I became a judicial law clerk, still public service, and I clerked for 5.5 years for the Honorable Deborah L. Canty. And I had the most unique job description ever. She would actually sit me next to her on the bench and use me as a live legal encyclopedia. And while she was wise beyond her years, much older than me, and had practiced way longer than me, she would often say, especially when matters were coming to her that she hadn't seen before, and she would ask, have I seen it before? Well, the answer was no. We do call that matter of first impression when there's not a lot of legal history about it. And she would say, well, what do you think? In the middle of the court hearing, how do you think we should proceed? If we do X, Y, and Z, what are the ramifications? And if we order this, then what do you think the Superior Court is going to say? Because I had to respond to the Superior Court. And we worked together, and she would go with it. She trusted my expertise, my abilities to break down complex information, and even to be resourceful. And I have written at least 100 opinions for her to the Superior Court, and none have been overturned. In fact, the Superior Court would write back a response opinion, and they would actually write compliments to me in their opinion about how I was able to analyze and break down information. So after that, I got my wings and I could fly a little higher. I became a hearing officer, which it used to be known as master, but it's a quasi-judicial role. And I tell people in lay people's terms, it's like being a mini judge. Mm-hmm. I have my own courtroom, I have my own cases, and I had pro se litigants often, or sometimes litigants who could afford attorneys to come before me and about their custody issues. So I actually changed my practice area law, became a hearing officer there. And I would get litigants that would thank me at the end of the hearings. I would get ex-murderers or sex offenders who were trying to get access to their children. And even if the answer or the ruling had to be no, they would thank me at the end of their hearings. Why were you so kind to me? I know you saw my history. How come you didn't throw the book at me? Well, Judge so-and-so is always belittling me. This one won't let me get a word out. I feel so low every time I come into this building. But they thanked me because that was not their experience. While I do have to consider their histories and the things that have happened in their lives, that is not the job to belittle people, to emasculate people, and to not hear them. What was important to me is that they were treated fairly and like the human beings that they are. What was important to me was changing their scope and perspective of the judicial system, one case at a time. parents would come into my room fighting each other, fighting over children, and I would turn the litigation into a conversation. These families and people have to live beyond this litigation matter. And so I would slow things down for them, and I would tell them what the law meant. I would go through the statutes with them and break them down in like baby terms so that each party understood what we were doing at each part of the hearing. They learned something. I made sure we were all on the same page before we moved forward. I made sure they understand you're asking for X, Y, and Z. This is what the ramifications are. I made sure that they understood that the primary concern was for the children. So I would have like what I would call come to Jesus moments and have them put their emotions aside and focus on what was most important. These people would walk out of my courtroom laughing. They felt empowered. They had tools that they could use even with their court order to work with each other beyond that moment because the court does not go home with you at night. That's right. Something could happen tomorrow. So I felt good to be able to teach people to plant seeds and that people can actually thrive long beyond their moments in the court system. In addition to my public service, I have given over a decade of free legal and non-legal services to entities, organizations, religious communities, etc. I was born to serve. My maternal grandparents raised me. For at least 40 years, they did not change their phone number. If you could get the phone number or find the house, whatever you were going through, no questions asked, they would nurse you back to life and give you what you needed to go on your way. No one asked for a dime. No one asked for a thank you. And no one heard about it in the street. I was raised to serve. This is what was instilled in me. My grandparents had helped with a homeless shelter growing up. After school, I had to go to the homeless shelter and help them cook the meals for the family. I still remember being in there, in that kitchen, serving those families and serving those individuals. I've also served abroad, but I know you wanted me to limit it to Philadelphia, so I won't discuss that.
You don't have to.
I'm also a international missionary. At the age of 14, I went overseas to St. Michael, Barbados, West Indies, where Rihanna's from. I went alongside my mother, international psalmist and apostle Lorraine Logan, and we were there to help stabilize the church. And we are still in contact with members of that community. In fact, she's going back in June. I'm trying to go with her because we did what we came to do, and we gave, and we poured in, and we helped develop, and we helped to add structure, and we taught. But while I was there, I was there long enough to go to school. I walked to and from school for miles on dirt roads. There were no sidewalks where I lived. And so I'm in the street, dodging cars because they're driving on the opposite side. You know how they do in Europe. Mm-hmm. And I got this on my left and I'm dodging chickens and whatever else gathered at my ankles to and from school. But if I look to my left and right, I could see any of my neighbors publicly bathing because not everybody had access to indoor running water. That is something to me. I thought I was poor living in West Philly when I would have seasons where I had holes in the bottom of my shoes. But that type of poverty is different. And to live amongst that and experience that, it did something to me. I knew that I had to carry the torch of service to the community that my family instilled in me. So when I got back home, I knew what my assignment was. I knew I had to find something where I could be effective to the community at large. I'm actually the first attorney of my mother's family. I knew I had to do this because I understood that people don't have access to legal services or legal resources, often because of funding. So I said a prayer. I said, God, if you let me go to law school, I promise you I'll use everything that I did to give back to the community. And that I will make you proud because this is not about me. I'm not here to serve myself. I'm here to serve others.
Oh, wow. So, JD, before you begin with your next question, you have accomplished many great things, and I can tell that you would be a great judge, not because you reach out to other people, but you give your time, your energy, and you have those stories that really connect people. And so you're a very people-oriented person because because I've been following your page, to be honest. And so I hear about your stories. I was like, I have to reach out. I was telling my nephew, I said, I have to reach out to candidate Henry. I said, because she does so much. And so I'm very proud of you, and I know you will be a great judge.
Thank you.
Yeah. Likewise. Congrats on all your accomplishments and continue being great. We know you will.
Thank you.
We're excited to be connected with you. And so I'll move on to the second question, which is, what is your judicial philosophy?
So yes, having worked for the judicial system for most of my career, I'm a person who likes to find a balance. I am known for following the law. I am known for being fair, but I'm also known for being resourceful and finding ways to still color within the lines, but ways that will balance the interests of other people. I'm a mediator by trade. When I went to law school, I went to a school who was at the time top 10 in the nation for alternative dispute resolution. And so not only did I get my doctorate, I received a national certification in dispute resolution. That's where you get your mediators, negotiators, facilitators, and arbitrators. It was important to me that I would arm myself with this skill because litigation does not always have to be a fight. I believe in collaboration. I believe in bringing everybody to the boardroom table. I believe in getting down to the why you're asking for what you're asking for to figure out what's most important for you and how we can all walk away in law school or mediation. We call it a piece of the pie. How can we all get a slice and everyone still benefit in some way, yet we do what we need to do? I bring these skills with me to the courtroom. I bring these with me when I assess the law. When people are coming and they have a legal issue, but the underlying circumstances for the legal issue is the reason why. For example, you're going into court because your children are truant. Well, why are your children truant? Some parents work overnight and they're not there to wake their children up in the morning to get them off to school. Some people don't have transportation services. Some people don't have transportation fare. And so let's focus on the actual issue. Yes, you're truant under the law, but you have to live beyond this. And if that circumstance is still going to be there when we give you this ruling today, how did the court actually help you? So let's focus on the issue. I bring this approach everywhere that I go.
Okay, so
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes, and she want to focus on the issue. So you want to really focus in order to help your clients and help those who are in the courtroom and make a fair decision, which is great. And like I said once before, you have those stories and things that you can relate to, and you're very people oriented. So that's a great attribute, Judge Henry.
Thank you.
All right. So speaking of the courtroom, what makes you so unique? Because I know there are other candidates, but what makes you so unique in the courtroom with people?
Well, I'm going to start with this because it's become a hot topic. I'm a lone star. I am the only unendorsed candidate who is not backed by the party or the bar for reasons that I do believe are arbitrary. I'm going to leave that right there. I am running against a machine, and I am running strong. I have been threatening to get out this race, but why would someone go as far to say, if this, then that, do this, then that? Because they are afraid. You cannot interfere with a God thing. And so past that, I'm going to tell you my sentiments about why me before all of that stuff happened. My campaign slogan is that I'm someone for everyone. And what I mean by that, I'm relatable, I'm fair, I'm resolution focused, but more intimately to connect to people and to resonate with people. I am very transparent and I share my history. I am no stranger to having children and youth services in my home, no stranger to having police at my door. I'm no stranger to being in a house with domestic violence, no stranger to a rough marriage and a divorce or even a loss of a child. I'm no stranger to being displaced as a child and also as an adult with with a degree and 2 full-time jobs in Washington, D.C. I am no stranger to, even in the community I live in now, having to being targeted for gun violence. So I've had attempted break-ins to my home, attempted armed robbery in broad daylight, and attempted car theft. I'm not even allowed to walk my dog or sing at the corner because someone will say you need to get out of here or you don't belong here. I'm no stranger to being a defendant in a courtroom. I know what it's like to have your back up against the wall and make some decisions that are really silly and that affect your life for a lifetime. I've been there. I've done that. I know what people are going through. As an attorney, I have had to get my food from food banks. I live in what's called a food desert. We never recovered after COVID and the riots that were happening when people were breaking windows to all the businesses. I do live along the business corridor and taking ATMs and dragging them down the street. We haven't fully recovered from that. But more than that, because I worked for the court in the city, I was among the lowest paid attorneys in the city. So I oftentimes did not have enough money to go around. So I have been at the food banks. Even recently, what I say all of that to tell people, I am one of you. I have lived the life that Philadelphians are living, and I'm still currently living in your circumstances. So when you come to the courtroom, you want to make sure that you have a judge who you're telling your story because you want to be understood. You want somebody to get it. You don't want it going in one ear and out the other. Slam the gavel. This is the law. You want them to consider your life circumstances and how you got here. You want them to understand your traumatic circumstances, especially if you were a childhood victim of rape and you're accused of something similar. You want somebody who's able to connect the dots and go as far as to address those underlying issues so that even after whatever is ordered, you can find a better life after that. That is a balance that you cannot buy. That is a balance that you cannot mimic. That is a balance that you're only going to find, I believe, this cycle in me, the only unendorsed candidate who did not pay to play.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. JD, what you think?
Yeah, that's great. That's great that you're approaching it with that mindset and relating to the people. I think that's a big deal. Even speaking from a business perspective, is being relatable and personal, and the storytelling side, as we all mentioned, the storytelling aspect, and making sure that you connect with the audience, which is things that you've covered. That's amazing to hear, and we're all about supporting and making sure that we uplift and encourage the community, not only our local community, but those in other states and countries and cities as well, which is why we're on the call today and meet with you. And so I'll go into the next question, which is, why should people select Judge Henry?
Well, if the reasons before you have not already made it clear, I'm doing this right now because I heard the responses from the litigants that came before me. I heard the cries for, we need something different because my experience has been X, Y, and Z. I honestly think, and I'm not arrogant, I'm not cocky, I don't even like this whole idea of self-promotion. I know I have to do it so people can know who I am to vote for me. But I honestly believe that I am needed in this season. I am needed in the city, that my perspective is needed. And I hope that I can bring some people along that are like-minded so that we can start changing the faith and confidence and restore that in the judicial system. Politically, the country is all over the place and people are scared. But I feel like when you have people who actually see people and care for people and who are going to fight, even if you're a lone man on the island, like I have been my entire campaign, that's something you should pay attention to. I think we'll show progress. I think we'll show forwardness. And while I can only do things one courtroom at a time, they're going to hear my mouth. I have no problem telling my peers, right is wrong is wrong, and I'm not going to stand for injustice, and you might need to make some adjustments. That's who I've always been. And I can do it with poise, and I can still do that in love and without belittling you and embarrassing you. But I tell people all the time, you can call my mom and every class I ever had. I don't care who you are, where you're from, how much money you got, how much power you got, how much influence you got, what you think you can promise me. I have never cared about any of those things. If you hear, my circumstances has been less than. There's nothing you can do to buy me. There's nothing you can do to sell me. There's nothing for you can do to make me be quiet when something is wrong. That is why you should vote for me.
That's good. Yep. And before I ask you this last question, you said that you were alone and you wasn't endorsed. Well, that's not what I'm saying, because there are many people, and like I'm in Texas, there are many people who admire you. They may not have platforms, but there are many people who really think that you're awesome. And like you said, as God, in his eyes, it doesn't matter if you're endorsed or not. If that's your time, then you're going to receive it. You don't have to be endorsed. You don't have to have crowds of people, which you do. You don't have to. If God wants you in that seat, he's going to put you there. So I don't want you to be like, well, I'm not endorsed. Don't say that. You are endorsed. You're endorsed by God, and that's the main thing,
Absolutely.
And I can tell that you have a heart for the people. You're very thorough. So in the courtroom, you're going to be thorough. You're going to look at all the evidence. You're not biased, which that's what we need. And besides that, as I was driving home, I was thinking about this interview, and I said, with judges, people just think of them in the courtroom making those decisions. I said, but you were at the park with youth, all types of people. I saw you was on a platform with the other judges, of course. I mean, you're everywhere. You're in the community. I actually see you in the community. And so people, they have questions. They want to know, is this right? Because everyone want to be heard. They want justice for themselves. They might not end up in a courtroom, but they want to be heard. And you're out there already. So some people who are endorsed, I don't see them out there. I see them in buildings and, but the main help is outside, which you're there. So as long as God endorses you, that's all that matters. You're going to be successful wherever you go,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this last. I'm sorry.
A little bit, yes.
Me too. When you said you from Philly, I was like, I wonder if she missing the Meek Mill.
Yeah, sometimes I play him in.
Me too. I play him in the gym too.
Good. That's right.
Give me energy, yeah.
All right, so the last question, Judge Henry, because I know your time is precious. Is there any other information that you want candidates to know, or well, not candidates, but that you want voters to know who will see this broadcast or anything like that? Like voting, where's that at?
Yes. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. As long as you're in line by 8, they must let you vote. You can check your voter's registration, put in my voter's registration in Google, and a Pennsylvania.gov website should pop up for those who are in Philadelphia. But if you're doing a mail-in ballot, the mail-in ballot is different. Our names are in a list. You have to go all the way down to look for me, Tanisha Henry. If you are voting in person, my name is literally in the middle of the screen. Ballot position is number 13. Look for number 13. I'm Tanisha Henry in the 34th Ward. If you are into social medias or want to check out my website, my Instagram, my TikTok, my Facebook, is all T Henry for Judge. The word for FOR. T Henry for Judge. Even the website is www.thenryforjudge.com. And if you want to check out my personal social media on Facebook, it's just my name, Tanisha Henry. And I'm going to spell that for you because my mom did do something a little different. It's TANIESHA, last name Henry, HENRY. Even my email address is thenryforjudge@gmail.com. And if you need something urgent, you can give me a call at 267-301-2013. Again, 267-301-2013. See, 13 is a lucky number. That's my ballot position.
See, so yeah, please vote for Miss T. Henry, number 13, when you vote on, is it the 20th?
Yes, it is.
May 20th. All right. Is there any other questions? Anyone?
I'm good on my end.
All right.
We appreciate your time, and we'll be supporting here from Texas and look forward to hearing the great news and staying connected with you for sure.
Thank you so much. Y'all please hold me up in prayer.
We sure will. And
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and I'll send you the link once it's ready. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.